Hi there and welcome to the channel. I'm Slate and today we are back with Builder Champ. We are going to be talking about one of the best limited heroes in the game, and that is Sun Wukong. So without further ado, let's get into it. Sun Wukong is a single target fighter. He does physical damage. He has this amazing burst capability, also has CC in his kit, and is able to summon what's called Sage's clones. They're effectively like mini monkeys. And yeah, he's dual faction with Watchguard and Nightmare, which really complements his kit and his style, and he is available as a limited summon hero. He was first released for New Year's of 2024-2025. He then came back at the end of May in 2025, and then he has also had his third banner now in the mid-October. So what makes this guy so great? So like I said, he does a huge amount of single target damage. I would definitely say this ultimate is more of a burst damage in the fact that he is able to deal damage 18 times to one enemy and is also able to inflict stun. His basic attack is pretty straightforward. It's a 2-tile range and he deals 100% damage to one enemy. So he has two passives here. The first one is this called Golden Cudgel Strike. Essentially, each basic attack has a 25% chance to deal 200% damage and inflict stun. And obviously, if the enemy can't be stunned, then it deals extra damage. And this is this like special attack, for want of a better word. And essentially what this then does is if you manage to get it 5 times, or every time it happens, he gets this stack of what's called Sunder, which can stack up to 5 times. And then the ultimate will use at all the stacks at full stack, and then he can ignore 60% of the target's defense. Basically, long story short, this guy is able to gain damage stacks, which then on his ultimate can mean that he can ignore defense, which makes it even stronger. And then the other thing to say is he's got this very complicated talent, which essentially every 3 strikes he is able to create one of his clones. He's allowed to have up to 3 clones. And he also is able to increase the damage that he deals to elites or bosses every 30 seconds and essentially does a load of damage. It's pretty much how he works. Now, in terms of his awakenings, I would definitely say he is some of the best awakenings in the game in terms of how powerful they are for his character. This A1 is absolutely amazing. Essentially, it creates a death save to himself and all allies within 2 tiles. So it is absolutely fantastic for survivability. You know, typically we see death save on healers or even tanks for themselves, so it's very unique in the fact that he is able to give it to all allies as a fighter. His A3 is really interesting as well. It essentially means that the clones that he brings out, remember he can have 3 of them, have a 25% chance to inflict stun as well. This is absolutely fantastic when you are trying to do APOC. That basically means that Wukong is able to be your stunner, because essentially it's him and the 3 clones that sort of cycle out are able to inflict stun. And then the A5 is essentially just increased damage on his ultimate, which is just nuts. It's amazing. It's fantastic. He's wonderful. So if he's this good, where can you use him? Essentially, you can use this guy in pretty much any kind of content. You can use him throughout the campaign. Anytime you need single target damage. In terms of the gear raids, I mean, I think for progression, you could definitely use him in Gear Raid 1 and Gear Raid 2 and Gear Dungeon 2 as well. But he is not... This isn't where he shines, is where I would say, but he is definitely usable if you are progressing. He does do well in Artifact Material Raid when you are looking at the floor one. But again, because he's single target, it is not necessarily where he shines. I personally think he shines in boss content. So that is going to be Drake's Chasm, Abyss, Titanic Ruins. And if you look at any of the leaderboards, you are going to see Wukong up there. And that is because he's amazing. And he also, if you look at any of the rankings, the world rankings, he's usually up there alongside Kigiri, who is another limited, in terms of just putting out absolutely nutty damage. This is in APOC. Let's have a look in the world rankings for Nightmare 4. Again, he's doing fantastic. What is he? There. And then obviously in Abyss as well. We know Kigiri is the king of Abyss, but Wukong does give him a good run for his money. So yeah, that is definitely where I'd say. And then also he is really good in GVG, and you can use him in single target arena as well. In terms of investment, I think he is absolutely well worth investing into all of his skills. I would definitely say as a priority, you want to try and get his ultimate going. But because he is someone, especially if you are progressing, that you are going to rely on to do a huge amount of damage across the board, I think he's definitely worth being a priority investment for those skill crystals that are really hard to come by as you are getting started. And then in terms of awakenings, in terms of soulstones, because he is a limited hero, he is definitely one of the heroes that I would say you want to put your unpolished soulstones in terms of, I definitely think you want to get his A1 pretty much immediately if you can. I would then say if you can get his A3 or his A5, definitely put it into that. Obviously, this little bit of extra attack at Awakening 2 is nice. Obviously, the penetration at Awakening 4 is nice as well for damage. But essentially, yeah, I think in terms of using your unpolished soulstones, he's definitely worth it. But it might be a thing where you get his base copy, you make him A1, you hold and see your other soulstones. Then depending on what you're able to get, if he then comes around again, if you pick up, other limiteds, for example, Dao Chan A1 is a really big deal as well. It's little things like that. So is he worth your soulstones? Absolutely. Just be smart in the way that you invest them. In terms of stats, obviously this guy is DPS, so we are going to be looking at making sure that he has a lot of attack. He's maxed out on his crit rate. I would then suggest going for speed, because obviously also the more hits he does, the more of these clones that come out and do extra damage. And then obviously you want to then fill in your crit damage stat as well. I think one other thing to note is that he does quite well with HP and being quite tanky, in terms of you are able to use him, for example, in GVG as a tanky build behind the tank. How many times can I say tank in a row? And so essentially there are ways to build him with HP. And then obviously with his artifact, he does have this exclusive, and it is absolutely fantastic even as a base copy. It is definitely his best in slot. And I would say that the artifacts, thankfully with limiteds, during their event, they tend to have their artifact in the shop for you to be able to pick up. So I definitely say when you get this guy, get his artifact as well. It is absolutely going to be best in slot. But if you somehow missed it, then I think the other option obviously is the key. There are builds, and I will show you one later, where we do use the key instead of his exclusive. But if you, for whatever reason, did not pick up his exclusive, I think you could definitely use him as in a Shattered Hilt. And then if you are in, completely beginning, you can absolutely chuck him in a Keen Wisdom, because we like a Keen Wisdom. But I would say a base copy of his exclusive is still going to be the best thing to put him in. For different things like that. Now, in terms of what sets do well for him, on the left-hand side, like I said, there's two sort of ways to do it. Obviously, if you're going DPS, it is going to be Warlord and Wicked Vengeance. And, if you're progressing, Calamity will help as well. And even you could do Annihilating Might if you had really good pieces in that is an option. And then I would definitely say the other thing, like I said, tanky build, it is going to be Astral Guardian and Immortal Warrior. I don't think it's worth trying to do it in Life Force, but I think if you have some lovely damage pieces in these two sets, that can definitely help as well. In terms of exclusive gear, he doesn't have any exclusive piece himself, but he is part of the Watchguard and Nightmare factions. So I definitely think, obviously you're not going to be putting him in Winds of Grace, but Cataclysm is quite a nice set on him. And I would definitely say, in my opinion, the Watchguard exclusive is better. It increases damage by 8% and healing effect by 8%. Not so much about the healing is a big thing, but the Nightmare one is that a basic attack has a 5% chance to deal extra damage one time. In my opinion, the flat 8% that you get off the Watchguard ring is a little bit better, but that is completely up to you, and I haven't actually tested it. So if you have actually tested that, do let me know in the comments below and let me know if I am right or if I am not right. But yeah, anyway, now we are going to move on to a couple of builds as an example. So first up is obviously going to be a progression build. What I say with any kind of progression, it is going to be stats over sets, and we are going to be looking at, I would honestly go broken. The other thing you could do is there is that Volker Doom set. You could absolutely put that on him if you are just getting him as you begin. Wisdom is also pretty nice because it sort of boosts his ultimate. But yeah, like I said, if you are progressing, definitely go stats over set. We are going to be looking at attack bonus main with crit rate, attack speed, and crit damage. Ideally, if you could get all three of them. So, let's say it's a Cursed Bangle, and then what's another? Here we've got a fracture, and then here we've got another fracture. Cool. And then here on this side, making sure that attack bonus is your primary, making sure we cap it out. Let's see here, Annihilating Might, and yeah, Annihilating Might again. Okay, cool. So he's well over that. Let's see what we've got him to. I think a general rule of thumb is whatever this attack, so this is like 7k, you want to double that. So you want it to be plus 14,000, which we've got is over 16,000. You can see he's got plenty of HP here. It's really nice and easy to keep him alive. He is at 400 speed, so a 1.4 second interval. Crit rate is obviously there. Crit damage is 262%. This is going to be low because obviously we're not in those premium sets. And I would also say one other thing here is that if you are progressing, by all means, use a crit rate main, but please then make sure the other two are attack bonus. If you are using an attack speed amulet, make sure that the other two are attack bonus. Essentially, you want to pump this guy with as much attack as possible. And like I said, for his artifact, the base copy that you get is going to be more than enough, and if not, then I would definitely say, you know, chuck him in a Keen Wisdom, but I can't see why you wouldn't have picked up his exclusive artifact. But yeah, now moving on to a more tanky build. This is sort of more what I'd call a GVG build, when he is behind a tank and he's going to get hit. I guess you could use it in some other content as well. I will say one thing is that, like we just saw with the progression build, because he has such high base HP, it is pretty easy to build him with a load of HP on him. Anyway, in terms of that, what we're going to do is we're going to go Astral Guardian with the secondary strats are going to be attack bonus, crit rate, attack speed, because we still want him to do DPS. We're just putting him in a tanky set for the extra oomph, if that makes sense. So yeah, you're still going to be looking for DPS in those pieces. So it's one of those, you know, little things that you will occasionally pick up. And then we are going to look for the right hand side. I think as you move into late endgame, his best in slot is going to be Soulbound Arcana or Cataclysm. It essentially depends which you have the best stats in for him than necessarily which set, if that makes sense. So we're going to go for Soulbound Arcana with attack bonus. We're going to go crit rate, attack speed, crit damage, and HP bonus. Now, if you didn't have a piece that had all four of these, I would drop the crit damage instead of dropping the attack speed, because like I said, you want to make sure that he gets his clones out best. So yeah, here, but of course, if you have one that is crit damage and doesn't have attack speed, then obviously go for that instead. So yeah, let's have a look here. Also on the artifact, this is when I would swap him into a Key of the Forsaken. So let's see what our Tanky Wukong build is now going to be. We're looking at 70k HP, still doubling that attack at 25. He is still nice and, you know, He's on goodish speed with 391 and 1.4 seconds. He's pretty much at the crit cap at 96. To be honest, I would refine this to make sure he had that 100%, or at least 99%. And then where is it? I think we are also going to go here, like I said, you know, that 250 crit damage. So yeah, so that is sort of more of a tanky build that you can use your Wukong with. And then finally, if you are building him for full damage, full DPS, let's go to town. It is going to be Warlord or Wicked Vengeance on the left-hand side. As you know, if you have Wicked Vengeance quad pieces, they are absolutely going to be best in slot. So that is what we are going to do here. And then, like I said, depending on whether you have better Soulbound Arcana or better Cataclysm, and also depending on the order in which you're gearing your heroes, that is what you're going to do. But we are going to build him in Cataclysm today. So that is going to be attack bonus. And then the idea is to create perfect DPS with all four. Okay, so we don't have that. So we might bring in the HP bonus, because obviously it is really nice if you are putting him in Abyss or some other boss content, to make sure that he has a little bit of survivability on him as well. So here, and then I would definitely say, like I said, make sure he is in his Watchguard exclusive. You can put him in a Nightmare if you so choose, again, but I will always pick a Watchguard over that. And then we are definitely putting him back in his exclusive because it is just so good. I also think here it is definitely worth putting some little Malric keystones in to boost it, but I wouldn't go completely crazy trying to max this out. A general rule of thumb with Malrics, if I haven't said so before, is you sort of want to try and go to about 50% of what you can get. So here it'd be sort of like anything between 700 and 800, and here, 200 to 300 is pretty good in terms of what you can spend. Now, anyway, back to the gear. In his Wicked Vengeance and Cataclysm, we are looking at still 43k HP, nice and tanky for a lot of content. He's at 28k attack, which is lovely. He's down to a 1.3 second interval, nearing 500 speed, 471. He's over that crit rate. And then this is the lovely thing. Really, when you are trying to go full damage, anything over 300, 350 is what you want for that crit damage. And yeah, that is essentially his full damage mode. So yeah, in terms of Sun Wukong, he is amazing. He is absolutely fantastic. He is I think one of the things that was interesting is when he was introduced as limited, it definitely was the second we got Kagiri and then him and then Daochen, and it was this real boost to heroes that were being introduced in the game. You could sort of call it a bit of a power creep, but they are just fantastic, and thankfully they are rerunning them so people are able to pick them up, which I think is very, very good. But yeah, do let me know in the comments below, when did you get your first Wukong? Have you put in your Soulstones? Are you looking forward to getting more of him and everything else like that? Thank you so much for watching. Do like and subscribe if you haven't already. I look forward to seeing you in the next video and the next live stream. So until then, take care and bye for now.